Hello, brothers and sisters, and my friends. My name is Leong. Welcome to Pathways of Hope. Today's gospel reading is from Mark chapter 3, verses 20 to 21. Super quick, but packed with insight. What's happening here? If you look at the previous verse, Jesus went home. Jesus' hometown, as we know, is Nazareth. So we can imagine that there, Jesus grew up as a child and then a young man in this very, very small town with about 400 people. That's the population. It's 148 kilometers away from the capital, Jerusalem. So imagine, that's about three full marathons and a half. When I looked it up in Google Maps, it's about 30 hours away at least of walking. So not near. What does that look like for people who live in the metropolis? This is probably like one of those small towns in the province. Conservative people trying to preserve their way of life. It's small enough that everyone knew each other and in a more familiar way, and they probably had humble livelihood. We know that Jesus grew up with his father for a while, Joseph, carpentry work, and maybe we can imagine that this is how people knew him. This is Joseph's son, this quiet young boy doing carpentry work with his father. He's not obnoxious, he's not loud, he's just doing his work. So imagine the shock. The shock when this small, quiet town, Jesus went home, and then suddenly there's this big crowd. We don't know if the crowd was already there in Nazareth, in his hometown, waiting for him, or they followed him all the way from where he came. But there's this big crowd, probably different people looking for, asking for different things from Jesus for healing, for teaching, for wisdom, probably like knocking at his door. And it was so busy that they couldn't eat. Jesus and the people he were with, maybe his disciples, they couldn't eat because they were so busy. So the next verse says, his friends, other translations would say his brethren or people close to him, rose up from where they were and said, like, let's get him, let's arrest him or seize him because he's beside himself. He's crazy, in other words. So can you imagine taking on the perspective of someone who maybe grew up with Jesus, seeing a young boy? This is a guy who's just doing his work. Now, people see him as a person with major following, a rabbi, full of wisdom. People are asking him for help. Multitudes, not just like a small group of people, but a huge crowd following him. Part of the people following him are also major leaders of the Jewish society, Pharisees, scribes. Some point we'll see the Sadducees, but people who could put his life in danger. And he was not making them happy. At the same time, this same guy they grew up with was now saying that I am anointed by God. I'm the one you've been waiting for as a people, the Messiah. And they said, he's crazy. He doesn't know what he's saying. That's probably where it's coming from. How can this guy talk about this? We need to get him. We need to seize him because we need to protect him from the crowd. There's so many. We need to protect him from the people who could potentially cause him danger because of the things he's saying. They don't like it. And we need to protect him from himself because he doesn't know what he's saying. In other parts of the Bible, people would say Jesus is blaspheming. What do we see here? We see that the people closest to Jesus don't understand him. He's probably doing big miracles in front of them, major works, and they don't see it. They're stuck with that prejudice that we don't understand what he's doing, therefore he must be crazy. I think three things that we can learn from here, I reflected on. One is, oftentimes, we can also misunderstand Jesus. We read scripture, we come across a very hard saying or teaching from God, and we can dismiss it as not maybe not crazy, but using the words as this is outdated. How can God know what's gonna happen 2,000 years after this was written? He doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know exactly what I'm going through. How dare you generalize me, Jesus? That can happen, but here, my brother and my sister, I hope the gospel encourages you that God wishes to speak to you from a place of love and understanding, meaning Jesus actually knows what it's like to be human. He lived like one. He loves you, He's merciful, and His justice is perfect. And you can trust in His word. Our approach in hard sayings could be, okay, Lord, I don't understand this, but I want to love you. I know that you are Lord and I trust you. So help me understand this. Secondly, for those of you who are, especially for those of you in mission work or just trying to follow Jesus Christ, doing His will, His mission, helping the poor and other people who are spiritually poor is part of our work. This gives us insight that there are times when our schedules will be interrupted, and it's good to realize that our time is not our own. Sometimes we're responsible enough to set this time is for this day is for this, but people can just randomly disrupt that schedule and ask for help. A good question to ask is, what would be the most charitable thing to do right now? Thirdly, this is, I think, consolation, at least for me, I hope for you also, that following Jesus Christ could also mean people ridiculing us, thinking we're crazy, even persecuting us. It can be, it can mean like feeling estranged when we're following Jesus Christ because it's very different, the kind of life Jesus wants you to live. And here, I don't think Jesus gives us a solution to feeling weird by making our friends making us feel weird or ridiculed or us feeling estranged. I think from this gospel, I just experience an encouragement to be faithful, that following God is not vain. To conclude everything, I like to bring us to the last part of this story of Mark 3. It ends by Jesus saying, "Who are my brothers and my mother, the people close to me? Here are my mother and my brethren, the people who do the will of God." So my brothers and my sister, those of you who are striving to understand the words of God, even if they're hard, and take it to heart, those of you whose lives are demanded, interrupted by the demands of mission work, and those of you who experience being ridiculed, experience being estranged because you're trying to really follow God in your life. This is consolation for you and I. God says to us, "You are part of my house if you follow me." I hope you were blessed by this. Please feel free to like and share Pathways of Hope with your loved ones. God bless you.